message of the cross of Christ is one of peace and hope. The power of the cross is in the sinless blood that flows. How can anyone believe the message they have not received? God calls again. God calls again for us to lift him up. Lift up the cross, till every eye has seen the Lamb of Calvary. Lift up the cross, exalt the Son of God who died. Take up your cross and lift it high, till every eye has seen the Lord. Lift up the cross, till every eye has seen the Lamb of Calvary. Lift up the cross, exalt the Son of God who died. Take up your cross and lift it high, till every eye has seen the Lord. Till every eye has seen the Lord. Till every eye has seen the Lord. Lift up the cross, lift up the cross, lift up the cross. God has built his church on one foundation, Jesus Christ, the living cornerstone, crucified and risen to redeem us. We adore and worship him alone. We are your church, your bride, the people of your name.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday night service. Let's all stand and take our songbooks and turn to page number 94. Page 94, Oh, I Want to See Him. Page 94, Oh, I Want to See Him. Let's sing it out on verse number 1. As I journey through the land, singing as I go, your tinsel sing downwardly to the crimson flow. Many arrows pierce my soul from without within, but my Lord leads me on, through Him I must win. Oh, I want to see Him, look upon His face, there to sing forever of His saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Verse number 2. When in service for my Lord, dark may be the night, but I'll cling more close to Him, He will give me light. Satan's snares may vex the soul, turn my thoughts aside, but my Lord goes ahead, leads whatever betide. Oh, I want to see Him, look upon His face, there to sing forever of His saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Verse number 3. When in valleys I look toward the mountain high, and behold my Savior there, leading in the fight, with a tender hand outstretched toward the valley low, guiding me, I can see as I onward go. Oh, I want to see Him, look upon His face, there to sing forever of His saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Number 4 for the last. When before me billows rise from the mighty deep, let my Lord this wrecked bark me down safely keep. He leads me gently on through this world below. He's a real friend to me, oh, I love Him so. Oh, I love to see Him, look upon His face, there to sing forever of His saving grace. On the streets of glory, let me lift my voice. Cares all past, home at last, ever to rejoice. Good singing this evening. Brother Haven, would you go ahead and open us up in a word of prayer?
Father, we do thank you for this evening, Lord. Thank you for the opportunity we have to be here. Honor your name and glorify you with songs of praise. Father, we just pray as the service continues that your hand be upon all aspects of it. We just pray, Lord, that your Spirit fill us and abound and be with the teens as they bring their testimonies to us. We're just thankful, Lord, that you were able to guide them safely up there and back, and they had a good time in camp. Father, we just pray as they bring their testimonies that we continue to support them and the decisions they make for you. Pray these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, we're going to go ahead and remain standing for our next song. We'll stay standing. We're going to switch things up tonight. We're going to sing page number 11 next. Page number 11. Remain standing. Page number 11. He is mine. Verse number 1 on page number 11. Long before the fall of man, God designed a master plan. He exchanged the sinner for the sinless one. Jesus left His throne on high, into earth to bleed and die. He said, Father, not my will, may be seated for this last song. We're going to go ahead and jump to our last song, and then we'll have our offering after that, ushers, after this next song. But that'll be page 257. Page 257, farther along. We got 4 verses. Think about the words as we sing it. Sing from your heart tonight. Good singing tonight. Singing from your hearts, and you can tell. Appreciate that. We're going to have our offering now at this time, so make sure we are faithful in our giving church as you always are, and we do appreciate you all and the vision that you have. We do have a giving church here. We appreciate that, and God will bless that if you keep that. Looking forward to hearing from the teens here in a few minutes on camp and their testimonies of what happened over this past week, and excited for that. Brother Marvin, would you go ahead and pray for this evening's offering?
So little time, the harvest will be over, our reaping done, we reapers taken home. Report our work to Jesus, Lord of harvest, and hope he'll smile and that he'll say, well done. Today we reap or miss our golden harvest. Today is given us lost souls to win. Oh, then to save some dear ones from the burning. Today we'll go to bring some sinner in. How many times I should have strongly pleaded. How often I felt too strictly warned. The Spirit moved, oh, had I pled for Jesus. The grain is fallen, lost ones not reborn. Today we reap or miss our golden harvest. Today is given us lost souls to win. Oh, then to save some dear ones from the burning. Today we'll go to bring some sinner in. A day of pleasure or a feast of friendship, a house or car, or garments fair or fame, will all be trash when souls are brought to heaven. And then how sad to face the slacker's blame. The harvest white with reapers few is wasting, and many souls will die and never know the love of Christ, the joy of sins forgiven. Oh, let us weep and love and pray and go. Today we reap or miss our golden harvest. Today is given us lost souls to win. Oh, then to save some dear ones from the burning. Today we'll go to bring some sinner in. Today we reap or miss our golden harvest. Today is given us lost souls to win. Oh, then to save some dear ones from the burning. Today we'll go to bring some sinner in.
Thank you, Brother Condi, for that song. We're going to have our testimonies here now at this time, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started off. Thank you to everybody who prayed for us in the trip. We had 22 hours of drive time on the way up, and then how many hours of drive time on the way back? 73,000 is what it felt like. That's Brother Luke's testimony. So a lot of hours on the road, and we made it there safely and back safely without any difficulties there. The teens really hit the ground running. They had a good spirit throughout the week, a good testimony of the church. It represented our church and our Savior and our pastor well while they were there. I feel like this year they got outside of their comfort zone a little bit more. Last year they were kind of feeling things out. They didn't know what it was going to be like there. But this year they hit the ground running. We were on our own team for the most part. I'd say 90% of our team for the week was just our group and our teens, and they did a tremendous job. They got second place overall out of 4 teams, so they did very well there within the competitions and the games and the spirit. I was excited to see them get out of their comfort zones a little bit, playing different games. I think almost half of our guys preached for the Preacher Boy contest. Almost all the boys boxed. We have the videos of that as well if you want to see those. But in the games, the activities, the singing, the preaching, offering time, they were just all in, and they were excited to be there, and they were ready, and you could tell that through the amount of decisions that were made. But thank you to everyone who helped make us be able to go. Thank you to Brother Luke for driving the bus. I feel like he got the kind of the raw end of the deal. He got to drive us there and drive us back, but he didn't get to stay throughout the week with us, and we missed having him. But thank you so much for driving for us, and thank you for our chaps Miss Destiny and Brother Tillman for coming out and being a part. And you had an influence, I know, on the teens throughout the week. And then my wife as well for coming and being a help to the girls. And I know they appreciate you. And I think a lot of decisions that were made, they could be honest because of your relationship with them. And that was a big blessing. Thank you to the parents as well for allowing them to go. And giving God a chance to speak to their hearts. Camp is a very different thing. It's not like youth conferences. If you've been to a youth conference but you've never been to a camp, it's a very different feel. You're isolated from everything. You're away from the distractions. You're tired by the end of the day. You've been run ragged and rugged, and it really gets you in the position to where you don't have any fight left in you, or your flesh doesn't have any fight left. And you allowing them to go, I know it's very far away, but you trusting us and letting us take them there. And I think you'll see the benefits of that through the decisions and the changed lives. But thank you for allowing us to have that impact on them. I heard of another group that some of their kids weren't able to go to camp because it was just too far. The parents didn't want them to go. So I do appreciate you all trusting us, and we do love your kids, and we appreciate being able to have an impact on their lives. And we were praying for that this past week. Thank you to the teens as well for all the fun. You guys are a fun group. You guys are crazy, and I do enjoy spending time with you. And I do need a break after a week, but it was fun to be with you all. And you guys are a good group of people, and young adults coming up. And a lot of prayers were had for you guys before we went to camp, and a lot of concern that Pastor and I had for you, especially for this teen week. And you guys responded well. You were ready and open and receptive to the preaching, and God was able to work in your hearts through that. So thank you for that. A couple of messages that really spoke to my heart throughout the week. One was Brother Kavanaugh. He preached on the Rechabites. And they were the descendants of Jonadab. And Jeremiah, he told Jeremiah to go up to them and say, hey, I want you to drink wine, not strong drink wine, but just regular wine. I want you to drink some wine. And they said, no, we can't do it, because Jonadab, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, had told his family, no, we're not going to do that. That's not what our family does. You're also going to be nomads. You're not going to stay in one place for very long. And they had kept those decisions from way back when, just because someone had told them to, someone in their family. And one of the last points in that message was that some honor is more important than others. And making sure that we're trying to get the right type of honor. And the Lord spoke to my heart about making sure that I have the right focus on what praise I'm looking for. Someday I want to stand before God and hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant. And that's not trying to get the praise of man. That's not seeking after man's applause or what man thinks, but that's going after and seeking. And that is not going to happen by accident. It's by applying myself and figuring out what God would have for me and for the youth group, and following after and seeking after that, as opposed to man's praise and man's honor. And that honor is going to be far more important one day. And then another message that really spoke to my heart was from Brother Marriott, Austin Marriott. He is a youth pastor in Illinois, and he did one of the morning sessions, and they had planned to have a different speaker besides Pastor and Brother Kavanaugh. And he preached on the disciples going through the storm, and the title of his message was "Stick with God, Kid, You'll Go Places." And it was a really good message, really powerful. But one of the last points was how the disciples were on the boat with Jesus, and they were going somewhere. There was somebody on the other side, and if you know the end of that story, as soon as they reach the other side, the maniac of Gadara comes and meets them right away. But there was somebody on the other side of that storm that needed them. And throughout life, there's difficulties, there's problems that come up in my life, just in the ministry, through family matters. But there's young people and there's people on the other side that God has for us to try to help and influence, and not lose sight of that and the impact that we can have on them if we stick through the storm and not get out in the middle of it, and to stick with God through it and understand that we may not understand the reason why that we go through it, but always past it, there's somebody that we can help on the other side, and that needs us to be able to make it through that storm. So, but the biggest blessing, I would say, is just the response of the teens. Their hearts were open and they were ready, and it takes two things. It takes God speaking to their hearts, but it also takes them responding to that. And I appreciate the teens being open. From night one, you could see it. At the invitation, the aisles were full. They were down there. They were praying. They were making decisions right off the bat and admitting things. And they were getting honest about things. They may not go through everything tonight. This is the stack of decisions that our young people made over the week. That's some life-changing decisions right there. And you could look at that and think, man, that's just emotion. Maybe that's just the response that they're just going through the show of things. I don't think that was the case. I've been a part of a lot of teen meetings and youth rallies where it was all emotional. It was all, it was music, it was this, or that, and it was just trying to get a response based off of trying to get numbers. But this was not, I didn't see that this past week. This was not people just following the crowd. This was individually, each and every one of them getting serious and dealing with things that they need to. Obviously, they're not going to be able to go through each of their decisions tonight, and they're not going to be able to show you, and we can't recreate what happened last week. You had to have been there for it. One of the invitations lasted for over an hour, and afterwards, Brother Jess and I were talking. We hadn't even realized how long it had been since the service was done, and teenagers were still praying. They were grabbing each other. Families were praying with each other, brothers and sisters, cousins. Everybody was just praying with each other, getting things right, making decisions. And it wasn't emotional. It was you could tell it was a serious thing for them, and it was not pride out of them either. This was all their choice, their response. And it was a blessing to see their openness, and I'm excited to hear a little bit what they have to say about the week. But they can't go through everything tonight, and they're not going to be able to. But we'll talk a little bit more about what we as a church can do with them. But this is a lot of life-changing decisions, and I believe a lot of them were at a point, and even some of them admitted they were at a point of decision. Am I going to be in or am I going to be out? And that is... I think every youth group and every teenager is going to have to make that decision at some point in time. So don't be discouraged by, man, this person was thinking about quitting, or this person was dealing with this, or this person's getting this right. We all struggle with things. We all have sin that we need to get rid of and deal with. But just be thankful that they were at a place and they were at a spot in their life that they were willing to make a decision and get real honest with some things and get accountability. And God's going to be able to use it. This is just the start, though. They're going to have to live it out, and we're going to have to hold them accountable, and we're going to have to help them in these things, and the parents especially. Parents, I'm going to get you all a copy of their decisions for the week. That way you guys can have it, and they will have it as well. But help them with that, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say tonight on it. First, we're going to have the chaperones go through, and then young people, if you want to get up here in the order that you need to as far as what we had talked about for your testimonies, and then Brother Tillman, if you want to come and start them off.
We were gone for 9 days. 4 of them were in the bus. And it does test your patience. It does test your long suffering. But I wouldn't have traded it for anything. When we see the teens out here in the foyer and outside, we're kind of over their shenanigans and the way they talk to each other and sometimes the way they behave, because they have energy and they're trying to figure life out, and they're annoying sometimes. But I was worried about Jacob growing up and joining the youth group, because of all I knew about our teens was what we see out there, what we see outside. And then I got to spend 9 days with them. And I got to see the example, especially these two right here, that they set for my son. That one hour, I think it was an hour and a half long invitation, these two stood up and they took ownership of the youth group, and they took ownership of the behavior, and they said, "That's enough. Everybody focus in." And they held everybody accountable. And I was excited to see that. I think the message that you all probably know, Pastor preached it here, and it was about Jonah and Nineveh, and how God was ready to destroy Nineveh. But Jonah went, and they repented, and they turned away from their sin, and God spared them. But 120 years later, God was ready to destroy them again. And there was nothing that they could do to change that because of how far they had gone. And Pastor told us there was 2 reasons why that it was going to happen. One, it was because the older generation failed to pass along the lessons that they've learned. Or the other one was because the younger generation was failing to pick it up. And I don't think our younger generation here is going to fail to pick it up. So it's on us as the older generation to be that example for them. We have our teens, what they need mostly is encouragement from us. They need us to hold them accountable for their decisions, because it wasn't hard for them to make the decisions. God was working greatly at that camp. But now, when they're home, is when it gets hard. When they're faced with the challenges, when they're faced with the friends or the music that's playing at their workplace, when they're faced with that, that's when it gets hard. So we need to be there for them, to encourage them, to hold them accountable, to pick them up when they fail, to help them along. I wouldn't have traded this trip for anything. Jacob, 3 months ago, Mark? Where's Mark? He's out there. 3 months ago, Jacob started being usher. And he told Mark, I'll do it, but don't have me pray. He didn't want to pray in front of anybody. We were at camp Monday night. Was it Monday night? Yeah. Monday night. And they had all signed up for the Preacher Boy contest. We had 3 boys sign up. And then we had another one sign up. And Jacob said, you know what, Brother Ben, put me down. And he got up there. It was because of the example that these teens set for him. And he wasn't worried about it anymore. And then they were listening to him rehearse his message in the bunks when they had their free time. They could have been doing anything else. But they were encouraging him. Riley was timing him. Sam said he did a great job. They were encouraging him. If there's anything, I'm more excited that these kids are going to be examples to mine. And I pray that we're all that example to the whole group. So hold them accountable, encourage them, keep investing in them, because they need it. That's our next generation. Thank you for letting me go, Ben.
Oh dear. I feel you, Jacob. Talking about Jacob preaching, he had everyone eating out the palm of his hand, because the podium, he came up to here, pulls it down and bounced right back up, and he's like, I got you, man. First off, I don't know why everyone keeps thanking me for going. I truly don't get that. The teens are going to walk out with big heads, but I mean, might as well keep coming. But we have such a good group here. We have such a good teens. They got open hearts. They have a love for Christ. And for someone who hasn't been a chaperone for anything before, they were a very easy group to learn with. And they were so patient with me, and I can't thank them enough. You get to learn a lot over 9 days, and some stuff you're like, I could have lived my whole life without hearing that. But you keep going, and it is what it is. But no, I do want to thank the church for sending us. It was very, very gracious for y'all. Everyone really gave sacrificially. They gave out of love, and I want to tell you, it is not in vain. It is not a waste. Keep sending them, keep encouraging them, and keep going. Like I said, it was a huge privilege to go. I learned a lot. God really spoke to me on my personal testimony at work and just in public, and being a Christian and being that witness that we're supposed to be. And in fact, the message that really spoke to me, it was, I think, by Brother Kavanaugh, and it's, where's that soft wind taking you? And in short, it's, what is that sin that you think, oh, it's nothing, I can handle it? I can take it with me, or it's fooling you into thinking this won't lead into anything huge. And it referenced Paul on the ship before they faced the Euroclydon. And the passage talks about a soft wind that fooled everyone except Paul, thinking, oh, the weather's going to be fine. There's no storm coming. There's nothing we got to worry about. And it really brought home that today it might be nothing. Today it might be something that you think you can handle, but that's just you fooling yourself. You can't handle anything, so why hold on to it? I know a couple of us have already mentioned the record-breaking invitation on Wednesday night. I'm pretty sure Pastor was going for his all-time record, but genuinely speaking, it wasn't forced. It was all genuine. It was an emotion. There was a lot of emotion in it, but it wasn't fake. And what is my favorite memory is also my saddest memory, because I love the fact that every single one of these teens got up instantly. There was no hesitation. There was no looking around waiting for someone else to stand up and then follow. I could honestly say they all stood up at the same time. And they all talked to Brother Ben and Miss Emily, ready to talk about what did they need to give up, what did they need to change in their lives in order to be the Christians they needed to be. But it was also sad because you had all the pastors, all the youth pastors and their wives standing up there, and there were some teens that refused to get up. There was a youth pastor and his wife, I remember specifically, none of their teens came to them. They were holding back tears, they were definitely brokenhearted, and for someone to pour out their heart to them and to love on them so much like that, and they just to be stone cold to that. And our teens did not do that at all. We cannot take that for granted. I know we always try to encourage them, like, hey, stick to your decisions and keep going on, but what are we doing? Are we sticking to our decisions? Are we taking it for granted that, oh, our next generation will be fine, they'll pick it up? Or are we helping them carry that on as well? Like, I speak kind of as just the group right above them, and I'm like, come on, navigators, let's go. What are we doing? Are we just saying, do as I say, not as I do? Or are we leading by example? But do hold them accountable. Annoy them. You hear them say something that you know that they made a decision about, talk to them about it. Don't let them forget, because it was a week full of craziness, but it was a week full of many, many good decisions. And just thank y'all again. Don't stop thanking me. I don't know why you're thanking me, but thank you again for trusting me with your teens, and thank you, Brother Ben. It was a huge blessing.
I want to start off by saying thank you, church. Without you all supporting the teens, there was money, the dessert auction. So many of you baked desserts or gave so much money from the first fundraiser. And then many came to the car wash. Many came out and volunteered at the car wash. Thank you, because we couldn't have done it without a church that loves the youth group and is willing to support them. So thank you. Thank you, parents, for allowing your teens to go, because there was a lot of churches I heard that live a lot closer than we do, 10 hours closer than we do. And they said, you know what? A lot of our teens, they couldn't go. It was too far. So thank you for trusting us. I know it's a long, long ways on a full bus of people. And but thank you, parents, for allowing your teens to go and for trusting us. Thank you, chaperones, Miss Destiny. Where did she go? The teens lovingly, this was not disrespectful at all, but started calling her Miss Dusty Knees. And so now I can't get that out of my head, Miss Dusty Knees. It was very lovingly. But now, so thank you, Miss Destiny, though, truly. She was like my right-hand woman, always asking, what do you need, Miss Emily? What can I do for you? If I, stayed behind to talk to a girl, I'll take the teens. I'll walk with them to the cabin. She was very helpful. She was our stretch coach, because after the bus ride at Providence, when we made it that Saturday night, We were all in her room doing stretches. That was pretty funny, but we needed it. And also, it was just so sweet. It touched my heart. She was braiding the girls' hair. She's a very good braider if you need your hair braided. But the girls are so cute. I think every one of yeah, can you braid my hair? It was just, yes. And she would sit there on the couch, and she'd be braiding their hair, and they'd look all cute, you know. But that was a blessing, Miss Destiny. Thank you for going, because you took time off work, and you were a blessing. And Brother Jesse as well, for taking time off work and being a blessing to the boys and surviving the bus ride, the drive there and back. Thank you. And for Brother Luke for driving. I feel like you did get the raw end of the deal, like Brother Ben said. Drive us up, come back, then go back and drive us back. So thank you, Brother Luke. That was a blessing. Teens, thank you for going. A lot of you had to ask off work and just all the packing, all the planning that goes into it. I didn't hear a single complaint about not having their phone. That's 9 days for a teen nowadays to not have a phone. That's a long time for a lot of them. I know we're thinking, what, I didn't have a phone when I was a teen, but now that's a long time. I didn't hear a single complaint about not having their phone, missing social media. I never once. Maybe they did and I didn't hear them, but I never heard any complaints. They had a very good testimony again. I was pleased. Now they are crazy, but especially the girls. I guess I'm not, I'm sure the guys are too. But the girls, but we had a very fun time. They had a good testimony, and I appreciate that from you teens as well. There was a lot of fun memories. The girls got first in paintball, which was very good. They did very well. Ultimate Frisbee, we got fourth. That was not very good. But they gave their hearts at every game. No matter what, they tried their best. And I appreciate that about them. Even though they weren't maybe the best at Ultimate Frisbee, they still tried very hard. And I appreciate that about them. There were so many fun things. The preaching contest, it was very neat to see a lot of our guys get up. Jacob, I think you made everyone's day with your preaching. It was very good. That was a neat memory. And just seeing them this year for Bible memory, they had to start in Romans 3:23, was it? Or 3:10. But instead of just saying like a verse at a time, saying it, memorize it, pass, they had to they were doing the whole chapter. So they say a verse and then have to repeat. And a lot of them got like almost all chapter 3 done. It was just neat to see them trying. And I think a lot of them, I hope, can still quote it because it's really ingrained in their heads, which is good. And that was neat to see them really trying on that. But more important than the fun was the decisions. And right away, and I know it's because of prayers of you all, prayers of the parents, and I believe even prayers of the teens, asking God to show them what needed to be changed. From Monday night, you could just see their tender hearts. And it's a huge blessing, like Miss Destiny said. And you pray is not for a show, but I didn't see a moment of hesitation either, looking around who's going forward, and just about every invitation, all of our teens right away were ready. They were ready to be honest. I feel like this year, of course, every year's been good, but this year they were just ready to get honest, I felt like, with decisions that they needed to make, things that needed to be changed in their life. Just the tender hearts. I appreciate that. And then the Wednesday night invitation, I know it keeps being referenced, but it was amazing. It's been a long time since I've seen an invitation like that. And it was not, Pastor did give the call to go to your youth pastor's wife, and have them tell you what you need to change, which that takes guts. So they all came up, and then it was so sweet to me to see all the girls, they were praying as a group, because I told them, you all need to be accountable to each other too. They can help more than one person can. If the whole group, and the guys too, if they can be accountable to each other, keep them accountable. And then they all were praying together as a group, split off into families, and it was a blessing to my heart to see that, not only to come to me, but that they as a group and as individuals wanted to do that. That was a huge blessing. And then Thursday night, Brother Kavanaugh preached the message. And at the invitation, he said, I don't want you to go to any person, which is different, but I want you to go out and talk to God, write your decision on a card, and then go plant it. They had this spot to go put it, and then they put their decision in a rock. And I thought that was really neat, that because really in the end, it's up to their relationship with them and God, and they're going to have to keep it. And that was a special memory, too, to see them all doing that individually, talking to God, and then planting that decision. For me, I really loved the message by Brother Austin, stick with God, kid, you'll go places. And we could put stick with God, adult, you'll go places. But just how through the storm, if you stick with Jesus, there's someone on the other side. There's someone that needs you. And if you just stick with him, you'll go places. And that was a huge blessing. That stack of decision cards, I was crying this morning when I was thinking about it. I'm not emotional right now, which is good. But it's neat. It's the start, though. And I'm praying for the teens. I'm thankful for all the decisions, but now that we'll all encourage them as a church, as a group, as a youth pastor's wife. But I'm very thankful that we had the opportunity to go, and it was a very big blessing. So thank you, church, for allowing us to do that. I do have Hannah and Katerina moved about a month ago. For those of you, I think most people would remember them. They were able to meet us and go to camp, and they asked if they could text their testimony in. They wanted to do that. So I do have, they text it, so I would like to read their testimonies now from them. Now, I did not add or take away any words, so some of the stuff on there, that's all them. So this is from Hannah first. She says, hello, everyone. This is Hannah. I would like to thank Brother Ben and Miss Emily for letting me and my sister go to camp this year. I would also like to thank Brother Luke for driving us to camp and back. My favorite message this year was the one Pastor preached on out of Jonah about Nineveh's revival and how it dissipated 100 years later. He preached on how we need to buy the truth and make it our own without any partial purchases. I realized that I was borrowing the truth and that I needed to get rid of some things in my life if I wanted to make the full purchase. It's hard to choose what my favorite memory was on this trip, but I'll have to say that it was when we had a pillow fight in Miss Emily's room in Little Rock. I'm pretty sure Symphony gave me a concussion. Again, thank you for letting me go this year, and I miss you all very much. I'll see you soon. And then this is Katerina's, which you can tell this is Katerina. She says, hello, everyone. If you don't remember me, I'm the most awesome teenager to ever be in this youth group. She knew she wasn't here. She could get away with that. She said, if that doesn't ring any bells, then you're probably new. So welcome. Before I talk about my experience, I really want to thank Brother Ben, Miss Emily, Miss Destiny, Brother Jesse, Pastor Miss Tracy, and everyone that contributed to our trip financially or by prayer. Without any of you, I don't think I would have been prepared for God to speak to me in the ways he did. I have a lot of funny things I could say about each of the chaperones, like Miss Emily's Pakistani accent. That's another story. Or Brother Jesse's weird phone call stance. I don't know what that means, but she said that. But I think it would be better to thank all of you for being there for me. While God spoke to me through preaching and Bible reading, I know for a fact that he spoke volumes through Brother Ben and Miss Emily, counsel and love, and I'm forever grateful. Now everyone stop crying. I'm going to talk about something funny. During this trip, I made a lot of friends and a ton of memories to go with that. But my favorite memory has to be when my dream of giving a crowd of people the loser sign came true. I will not elaborate because it's funnier without context. So ask the girls if you want more context. Another cool thing that happened was me and my friends massacring a bunch of girls in a bloodbath of paintball. And then I got beat up by a baby and a bunch of redheads. Crazy stuff. I could talk about my memories forever, but I have to move on to the spiritual now at some point, so I'll do that. Every bit of prayer that went into this trip contributed in many ways. You just had to be there to see. Every single message spoke to my heart, but the one that stood out the most was Pastor's message on buying the truth and selling it not. Every point hit home for me, and I was able to get a lot of things right in my life that I couldn't have done on my own. My favorite part of that service, though, was the invitation. It was more of a blessing than words can describe to see the other teens in my youth group that are like brothers and sisters to me get right with God and surrender everything to Him. That night we were all genuine, and God brought us closer together by bringing us closer to Him. To see the other girls study their Bibles with the intent of reaching God, and watching the following day as our boys preached what God laid on their hearts, show me that revival isn't just something you read about or hear a preacher describe. It's real, and it happened to us. I had a great time, and we will miss all of you here. Heritage will always be my holy ground, and y'all will always be my family. Thank you for allowing Hannah and I to go on this trip, and thank you for everything.
No. So I wasn't really upset that I didn't get to stay for the whole thing until everybody started talking. Now I'm a little upset. But 7.1958 miles per gallon, that's what the bus gets. Yeah, that's not very much. But that's the most we ever got, and that kept the stops to a lot less frequent. So that was a good thing. That made the trip go a little faster. But Destiny and Lindsay, thank you for the snacks. Pistachios, gummy bears, Dr. Pepper, and peanut M&Ms. Now, the whole peanut M&M thing, it made me think of a joke. The kid went to the nursing home to see his parents, and he was eating the peanuts off the table and said, "Dad, those are good peanuts." He's like, "What peanuts? There wasn't any peanuts." He said, "The peanuts right there." "Oh, I just sucked the chocolate off of those." So they say that M&Ms don't melt in your mouth, melt in your hand, they melt in your mouth. They also melt in a bag on the floor of the bus. So I didn't get to eat the peanut M&Ms because I would have had to drink the chocolate then eat the peanuts, and that would have just been bad. So thank you anyway. And then gummy bears turned into a gummy ball. Thank you, Destiny. I missed out on a whole bag of gummy bears because it was a gummy ball, and that would have been a little bit bad trying to eat that, So yeah, that it made it interesting. But I did get to hear the last message, and Miss Emily mentioned it, but he talked about, he made the kids kind of act out what they needed to do. And when you practice something and you do it, it kind of makes it sink in a little bit more. But they took those decisions they made, they went and put them around that spot and planted them. So this stack isn't tall enough because they had a few that they actually planted. Because making the decision's good. We don't want to discourage that. But what Brother Kavanaugh got on was you need to bear fruit from those decisions. This right here, I see this as proof of our investment. Because it took guts to make these. And they were able to do it because they've watched this. And they know we care about them. But what drives all of this home is at camp, one of our bus kids works at the camp. Do you realize that? Stephanie works at that camp. Stephanie started out at McCardle, this tall, and now she's at Bible college, serving at the camp that our kids go to. So, Brother Jesse, that's proof of what you said. These guys are an example to the ones that are still sitting out here. And without our investment in them, that doesn't happen. So, Brother Jesse, you had 9 days, but I had 4 of the worst days of that. But I did have it a little better than you because I could sit up front and stick my earbuds in and pretend like nobody else was there. And get screamed at by Jack Hiles and Bobby Robertson and all these other preachers that I listened to the whole way. But, guys, don't forget these decisions. Don't forget these. That's why we send you. We want to see fruit on your account. because of you. We had some newbies. Sam, his first year. Jacob, his first year. Austin, the first time he got to go with us. It could not have been any better. And one of the things, I had never been to camp as a kid. We did conference, which was good. But the way they have camp structured, the games, okay, we got second. But those games aren't just athletic events. It's scripture memorization. It's preacher boy contest. It's all these things that aren't just physical feats. They're looking to make a spiritual impact, not just games. And that makes that trip worth it. We could send them anywhere to play a game. We could do that. But to be inundated with preaching in the morning, preaching in the evening, a devotion in the evenings before they cut out the lights, that's why we send them. That getting away from a phone, 9 days, that is a long time. I wish I could put mine down for 9 minutes. But that's why we send them. That's what makes it worth it. And just so you understand how much your prayers matter, we drove all the way up there, would you say 2,200-ish miles, 22 hours and over 2,000 miles. Not one problem on the bus. Poor Miss Carol this morning, picking up our kids for bus, and this is no exaggeration. Fan belt shreds right here, pulling into the parking lot. She rolls in, blowing steam everywhere, coolant falling out of the bottom of the bus today. That could have been any time in the last 9 days. So if you don't think prayers make a difference, they make a difference. Because as Pastor says all the time, it's a Baptist bus. It's going to lay down you don't even know. And we had a couple things that just didn't make sense on the way back Friday or Saturday. And always things just didn't seem right. But we got back. And I think that's because of the prayers. The reason these kids made the decisions they made, your prayers, your support. Let's keep doing it. Don't give up on the bus. Don't give up on them, even though they might drive you crazy. I live with two of them. I know how they can be. It's worth the investment. Stephanie is proof of that. Even Brashawn is proof of that. It's hard to believe, but even Brashawn is proof of that. It's worth it. They are this church in the future. And without them, we die. It's worth it. Keep doing it. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. I'm looking forward to this next part because I know some decisions that were made.
I'm going to start with the memories first. So when I first got to camp, the preaching really convicted me, and I made some decisions that I want my parents to hold me accountable for, and I hope they do. But the most convicting message was Pastor Chase, about not leaving your church. Like when Naomi had her husband and sons go to Moab, and she came full because of the famine, and she came back empty because Moab has its own problems. And just because there's problems here at our church doesn't mean it's better in Moab. And we need to think how blessed we are here. And my decision was not to think about what I'll get, but what I'll be leaving and who I'll hurt with leaving. and I'm not going to leave because of Phantom. Thanks, Brother Ben, for taking me to teens camp. Thanks to Dad for letting me come here. And thanks to the teens for not killing me on the bus ride. And Symphony when I gave you a bloody nose. Most favorable memory was when we were playing Capture the Eagle and we used humans as it. And how me, Sam, and George and Aaron got dragged everywhere because all the kids were like 14 and 19. And my dad has videos of it if you want to see. But on the bus ride, the funniest thing was Oslin, on the bus ride back, he kept petting everybody's heads. and he said he's pet everybody's head but Brother Ben's. And that was funny. Not that funny. But paintball was different than other paintball because I almost got shot once and Jeremy didn't shoot me. The rules were different. I got the flag, but I needed to use my useless gun. And Capture the Flag was fun with, what was it? The last one we did? Storm the Castle. And I think all of us had bruises from being trampled, but we won. It was just a really fun time and the messages were great. And I know I'm going to come back next year.
This tells you short people can grow. My favorite message was when Pastor preached on Jonah, when he went in on Nineveh, and he saved the entire city, but then when 100 years later, they fell because the older generation either failed to pass down or the younger generation did not pick it up. My favorite event was when we played paintball. It hurt and Jacob shot me. I shot Hector and Aaron even though they were on my team. My most unfavorite event was on the way back when we were in a hotel. Ethan told Oslin to lick my foot. And then the next thing I do something to Ethan, he attacks me, and then next thing I know, Austin's licking my foot. Brother Ben, thank you for taking me. Dad, thank you for driving the bus. Miss Emily, thank you for washing my pillowcase. Thank you, church, for for supporting us and going to the car wash and donating, and for paying big bucks on desserts that probably weren't that good. thank you for letting us go, and that's all I have to say tonight.
So, hello? I feel like I want to use that, but then I don't want to at the same time. So Sam is 12 years old, right? And he is almost my height. So, thanks. I am 13. Think of that. I just want to thank Brother Ben for letting me come along with Hector. And yeah, I want to thank Miss Emily for giving me some advice and loving all of the girls in me, even though we were crazy sometimes, most of the time. And thank you, Miss Destiny, for pulling up with every one of us, no matter how crazy we were. My decisions were very touching for me. I decided to stop following others, no matter how many times they told me to do this along with them. Hey, talk like this with me. And no, because I knew that it was going to hurt me the way I was in touch with God and my family members. And my favorite message was Pastor Kavanaugh's whenever he was talking about going inside of the soft storm and leaving it. And I also decided to, whenever I enter and leave it, to trust God and to, even when I leave it, to trust God as well, no matter the problems and the obstacles I have to face. My favorite memories, well, my first not so favorite memory was playing Ultimate Frisbee in the dark, Jacob. And they finally passed the Frisbee to me. I almost caught it. Jacob tackled me. And I got the bloody nose. So that's the story. My other favorite memory, I think Miss Destiny or Miss Emily has a photo. I think we were driving past Houston, and Ryan was just screaming and crying. And so I was able to carry him, and he ended up falling asleep along with me falling asleep. And that was amazing. My last favorite memory is, I already said that. My last favorite memory is all of us, all the girls getting together, saying what we love about each other, saying the things that we might need to fix about our craziness, and just having that bond that we all love with each other. And Katarina and Hannah, their photos on Miss Emily's phone are very, very disturbing. And Pastor Che's message also really stuck to me with, if you're gonna keep on staying with him, or if you're gonna follow others and forget all about God. And that's another decision I decided to follow. Not just to follow God, but to also get others to follow God as well. And once again, I just want to thank everybody for helping us get to camp, and for Brother Luke to pull up with our craziness, especially our carpool karaoke. And that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Before I start, I'd like to thank all of the adults and people who prayed for us while we were out, and the adults that sacrificed their time on Saturdays to come out and help with the car wash. I thank you, Brother Luke, for driving a bunch of snotty teenagers up to a camp and then back home, but it was all worth it. My favorite game was probably Storm the Castle, because it reminded me of the days where, we played flag football and pulling people's flags. And, we also played in the basketball tournament and got way further this year than we did last year. The preaching competition this year, it was really inspiring to see Jacob preaching, because it told me that no matter how small you are, you can still be used for God. My favorite memory was Wednesday morning. We walked all the way to the dining hall, and I'm just sitting on a rocking chair, looking out over the view. Knowing that my God created everything that I'm seeing right now. Just seeing the trees, the nice weather. But although it was nice there, it's good to be back in Texas. My favorite message was Pastor's message about Nineveh and how they saw revival, but then 100 years later, God was asking, why should I spare this city? Why shouldn't I destroy them? And the part where he said it was either because a generation failed to pick it up, it was very convicting, because I know if I don't pick it up, there's going to be another generation that needs me. And if I don't stay in God's will for my life, how will they go to heaven? Another favorite message that I had was when we had the split session. The title of it was Because of You. And his main points were, because of you, either people are going to go to hell and they won't know about the Savior, or there will be a whole generation, a whole nation that will be living for God. And it just told me as a 13-year-old called to preach that because of me, I can either see people saved, I can see families changed, or I'll see people fall and go to hell. So some of the decisions I made were start a relationship with my Bible. God gave me this precious book so that I can learn how to live my life and be the Christian that I need to be. And another decision that I made was buy the truth. It told me that I needed to stop buying the truth from my parents and that I needed to make it mine. And then the last main decision that I made was be more spiritual and godly. And it told me that I'm going to have to drop friends at school that I loved and cared for. But I don't just want to drop them and just ghost them. I want to invite them to church and see them saved. Because if I can see them saved, they'll tell other people. It also told me that I'm going to have to drop video games. Even though they were fun, they were taking up my time from spending time with God and talking to Him and reading His Word. And lastly, I just want to thank everybody again for praying for us while we were there. And my grandma, I knew she would have texted me. So when I got home, I didn't want to make her mad by not responding. Her text message was along the lines of, I know you don't have your phone, but I just want to let you know I was praying for you. And it told me that people cared about me. And that they wanted me to see me grow in God's will for my life. Thank you.
I'd like to start off by thanking Brother Ben and all the chaperones that made this possible, and all of y'all that donated and came to the car wash to support, and all the donations for the bake sale. And thank you, Thea, for letting me go to camp. Because I know if you didn't, I would have I wouldn't be where I am today. I would say my favorite message for the whole week was by a pastor. To buy the truth and the faith, and to not borrow it from the people around you. I've been borrowing it from Jeremy, from my aunt and Mark and Joe, and I decided to make it mine. I've been to 2 youth conferences and 1 camp. Out of all 3, this has been my favorite. Not just because of the activities, but because of the preaching. And the message that Pastor preached for the faith and the truth. As I was sitting there, I knew God was tapping on my heart. And at the end of the service, I went to Brother Ben, and I told him God had called me to preach that day. Brother Ben had us write a battle plan for how we're going to keep these decisions. And Pastor had us write them down. For with the truth and the faith, you can't ask for a discount. No partial purchases. You can't rent it. You can't delay the truth or the faith. and I'm not gonna sell it. My favorite memory wasn't an activity. It was whenever Riley and Jeremy got all the teen guys together, and they said that we needed to be a better youth group, and that the jokes we've been making weren't right, and that the stuff we've been saying wasn't right. And Riley said that if we don't take a stand, the women will. I know I don't, my family I live with at home, I'm saved with along with my 2 other siblings. And I don't know where my mom's gonna be if I don't witness to her. She'll either be in hell because I didn't witness, or she'll either be in heaven because I did tell her about it. But I just want to say thank y'all for donating and making all this possible, because without y'all this wouldn't be possible. Thank you.
This makes me feel short, just like my dad. No, that'll make me feel more nervous. Hello, my name is Aaron Ruff, and I want to talk about what my first year going to camp was like. One of the memories I'll never forget was going fishing for the first time and catching a fish on the first try. Unfortunately, after that first fish, I couldn't even catch a cold, sadly. One thing I want to talk about was the showers. The girls had showers inside the cabin, but our restroom and showers were at least 2 countries away from the cabin. Probably had something to do with the smells. I will also never forget about the games and activities everyone had fun playing. If you got a little USB they sold, you would see me getting carried in a game of American Eagle by like 3 people. The funny thing is I survived and I didn't get captured. But most importantly, one of the things I won't forget is a decision I made to read my Bible more. There are ways I can make this decision happen. For example, before I play video games or use my phone, I could read a couple chapters from Psalms or Proverbs, my 2 favorite books of the Bible, and I could set a schedule or an alarm for reading my Bible. From doing this, I believe I can read my Bible more. Finally, I want to thank everyone who helped or sent money for the funds of this trip. I especially want to thank Brother Luke for driving us to the camp and dealing with us, and Brother Jesse for giving his vacation time to help us have a good trip and a good attitude during the camp. I also want to thank Brother Jesse for walking back what felt like 5 miles to the cabins since I wasn't riding a bike. This trip was something that I would never forget. Thank you.
Hey guys, good evening. First I want to start off with thanking Brother Ben, Brother Luke, Brother Jesse, and the church for helping us raise funds and making this possible. And without this trip, some decisions I made wouldn't be possible. And I just want to say, first off, my favorite sermon was from Brother Kavanaugh, and it was the choices of freedom And at first he started off with the question saying, is my heart right with God? And it made me question if I was really just making this a one-time thing every week, or making up excuses to miss church, or just to have this checked off the list for a week. But later on in the message, he mentioned that some things last forever, like habits, routines, some evil things, but also purities. Purities last forever. And we got to thank God for salvation and how merciful he is to us. And we truly don't deserve to go to heaven, but because of his mercy and because he sent his son for us to die on the cross, we're able to have that ability and that privilege. And then another message was from Brother Austin, and the title was "Stick with God, Kid, You'll Go Places." And most of the message, it was like about challenges of life, and that it's not always going to be easy, and not everything's going to come easy, but God lets this happen. It's with his consent, and he doesn't give us nothing we can't handle, and we're not alone in this. There's members in our church, and even if we don't talk to members or nothing, we still have God. And God knows me, and he's there for me all the time, and he knows all my problems, and I could talk to him about anything. And no matter how hard things get, we got to remember what we're really fighting for at the end of the day. And my favorite event was probably American Eagle, when we get to, first it started off simple, just grabbing balls from the center of a field and then bringing them back to a cone. And probably when it got intense was, well, actually kind of funny, seeing smaller kids getting dragged by people like 2 times their size, and it was just funny watching people struggle sometimes. But oh, hold on. It wasn't just the activities like the games and stuff physically, but also during the Preacher Boy contest, there was one message from someone, and it really stuck out, and it was, "Are you a laborer or are you a follower?" And he said that mostly, most people in church, or there's going to be someone that's just following and usually just here just because it's a Sunday, or there's laborers that put in time and dedication, and they go out on soul winning on Saturdays or whenever they can, or coming on Wednesday services, Sunday services, and it just made me think to lean more on the laboring side and not just to be a follower. A decision I made was to get rid of sports, because that was one of the reasons why I missed so many Wednesday services and why I was getting away from the Bible. And I just thought, after talking with Brother Ben about things, and he explained to me what I should do and how I could stay close to God, if we put enough time and we actually dedicate ourselves to the book of God, we'll go closer, and sooner or later, whenever the time comes, things will get easier. And there'll still be storms in life, but the more closer we are, the more easier things get. And there's another message from Pastor, and it was about mostly, are we just buying the book, or are we just renting it? And I decided to buy it, and the decision I made that night was to say that this is mine. This is mine. And no one could take this away from me. This is probably the best thing that God's ever given us, because without it, we wouldn't know about our Lord and Savior, and I probably wouldn't be saved today without this. That's it.
Hello. Before I get started, I just want to say that 3 years ago, I was called to preach, and I was the first person to be called preach here. And now today, we have 4 preacher boys, and it's just really inspiring to show that this youth group has gone a long way from just being a small church to a big youth group that's going to conferences and making a bunch of decisions. And I just want to thank all the chaperones for dealing with us, especially me. I know I can be annoying. You can ask my parents. And thank you, Brother Jesse, Brother Ben, and Brother Luke for dealing with us teen boys. The back just smelled a lot. This morning, Ian, when he got on the bus, he said, "It smells." And you get used to it after riding it for 4 days. My favorite game that we had was American Eagle, and I thought I was big, but when I got there was probably a kid that was probably like Kai, if he was like this tall, looked around that height and whatnot, and he was on top of me. I thought I broke a rib or a backbone or something. I'm like, is this what Gavin feels like when I'm on top of him? A message that really spoke to me was the one where a pastor talked about not leaving the world, or not leaving for the world. Because as a person that's been in public school their whole life and seen the world, it has a lot to offer, but it's nothing but compared to what God has for us. And I had the privilege to preaching. It was pretty good. It was better than last year, because last year we only had 2 of us preaching, and this year we had, was it 5? We had 5. We almost tripled the amount of people. It's just really inspiring to see how much we've come along. And a decision I made was to get more in my Bible reading and study it and just grow with God in it, because if I want to be a good pastor and be up here and preaching, I need to get in His Word instead of just saying my words. My favorite part about camp was not exactly about camp. It was when we got here, and Kai came up to me and gave me a big hug and asked me, "Did you guys have a snowball fight? Was there snow there?" There's not. And it was just a blessing to be there. This is probably the best youth conference, youth camp, whatever you want to call it, that we've had, with all the decisions, the attitudes, and just our behavior there. Not only from just our sportsmanship, whatnot, just how Christ-like we were. And it's inspiring to see how much we've grown. Thank you.
Hi. By the way, I did touch Brother Vincent. Okay, I don't know how you guys like American Eagle. It was the worst game ever. I don't have a... My favorite, well, not my favorite, but something that happened was, like, the first 2 nights in the cabin, we were talking about how I could remove my birthmark, and so dumb. But then the last preaching, Brother Pastor Kavanaugh, he talked about how I was disrespecting God because he put this on me. I'm sorry. Thank you, Brother Ben, Luke, Jesse, and Miss Emily for you guys were amazing. Yes. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Libby, and I didn't realize how old I was in the youth group until we decided to do this youngest to oldest. And I wanted to start out by thanking everyone, especially Brother Luke for putting up with us for 40 hours in that bus, which did indeed smell. Okay, I have a lot of favorite memories. There were a lot of fun things that happened. I got to catch my first fish this trip. I almost killed the poor thing. Don't worry, he lived, he's fine. She didn't mention in her text, but another one of my favorite memories was when Katerina pied the camp director in the face. He lost a bet. She had his consent. It was fine. Obviously, I really enjoyed seeing our boys preaching, especially you, Jacob. I know a lot of people's been saying that, but no, it really did mean a lot to me. And obviously, one of my favorite messages was, several people have mentioned it already, but it was the Wednesday night message. Pastor had preached it before, about the, what was it, Nineveh, and how you can't buy the truth and sell it not, because you could lose the next generation if you don't. Because, it started out familiar. I thought I'd heard it before, but it hit me differently this time. I was trying to remember, what message is this? I've heard it before. And it was like, it's either one of two things. Either the older generation failed to pass it on, and I was like, amen. And then he said, or the younger generation failed to pick it up, and I was like, yeah, you got me. But no, honestly, it was a powerful message, but what spoke to me more was the record-breaking invitation afterwards. It was, yes, I did go up to speak with Miss Emily, all of us did, but the part about that evening that hit me the most was when I got in a circle with the other girls, and we started talking about this past year, where we've gone wrong, what we need to get right. We prayed for each other, and it made me, I don't really know how to put it into words, but I felt like I got something back from them, that something in our relationship mended, even though I didn't know what it was. And I just thought after that, what was it that I'd lost? What was it that I just got back? And when did I lose it? Where did we go wrong? But we were able to reconcile, and I feel like I truly got my friends back this camp, which leads me to some of the decisions I made. I made several decisions, a lot of us did, but some of my most dominant ones was that that I've decided to now better monitor, my screen time, because it's not that I'm doing anything bad or wrong with my screen time, it's how much I do it. You know what I mean? How many hours, I wonder if when I die I'll get a pie chart to see how much time I spent on my phone, and I know that the percentage is not good. But at a point, where was I going with this? Another, oh yeah, I also decided to put more trust in the Lord as He leads me through life, because life is going to have a lot of storms, and like I mentioned, I really mended my relationship with one of the girls. It was a reminder that that no matter what, none of us at the end of the day are each other's enemies. We only have one enemy. You can't win. And He's only going to win if we don't have the Lord on our side. I'm tired. I was tired of Him getting in my head, telling me that I had no influence on my peers, which I do, as I figured out quickly. I had me questioning my value in the youth group and such, but it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and can't win. I feel like those were really the major decisions that I made, and I'm gonna need help from y'all to keep me accountable to them, especially with the phone. That wasn't supposed to be funny. I wanted to thank everyone again, everyone who prayed, who gave money, who baked goods, who had us wash your car, even in the rain. No, it was great, and this was my favorite camp. I just wanted to thank you guys again. It was wonderful. Thank you guys very much. Okay. Hi, my name is Ariana, and this is my testimony from my first year at camp. Okay. To start off, I would like to say thank you to everyone who contributed to our trip, whether that means you helped give money to funds or took time to pay for our trip and spiritual decisions. I would also like to give a huge thank you to Brother Luke. It takes the ultimate sacrifice to drive a bunch of loud and smelly spawns of sin for multiple hours. And thank you to our chaperones. I know that all of the youth girls appreciated Miss Destiny and Miss Emily being there and uplifting us. My favorite memory was spending the night at Providence. I was unfortunately in a room with Jillian, Brianna, and Katerina. Not a good mix. I'm not sure what we were thinking about picking each other, because that was never going to end well. First off, I distinctly remember Katerina going crazy at 1 a.m. and crawling around the room while growling. Keep in mind it's pitch black, so we couldn't see anything. The only way we could survive was to listen to where she was growling around the room. Also, Jill was partaking in this activity, which I was not expecting. I've been to youth conference several times, but this is my first time going to camp, and I can definitely say this was my favorite trip. I got closer with my youth group. I made many unforgettable memories, but more importantly, I made decisions that were necessary for my walk with God. One that has been on my mind was to read my Bible every day. I have slacked on taking time off my phone and reading my Bible, and I know that many of us here have struggled doing that. We often forget that giving up time to read our Bible and instead using it to go on our phones has a greater effect on our spirit than we think. My favorite message was Buying the Truth. That one hit me hard. I had thought a few times about just leaving this life, but that one reminded me that God has a greater plan for me than the world does. And that I can use my testimony for other people. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I left. I know I have friends and family members that aren't saved. But going to this camp, it brought me out of my shell, and I knew that I had to make a difference about that. And I was ready to. But overall, my experience at camp was unforgettable. And I am so grateful I was able to go and get spiritually fed to a point I never thought was possible. And it's a huge thank you to all of you, because it truly has changed me. I wouldn't be here if I didn't go to camp. But because I did, I made the decision to stay. And that means so much to me, and I know that would have hurt a lot of people. So thank you.
First of all, I'd just like to thank everybody that took out of their time and effort and gave money and helped us raise money to get us to this camp. It's always a blessing to us, as you can see in all the decisions that we've made. But when we left on, I think it was Friday, Friday, we got on the bus, not knowing what was going to happen. We left as a youth group. When we came back, we were a youth group. Honestly, that is the closest I've ever been to these people. We came together. We all made decisions where we got on the same page. We all have this. Now we all came together and we have this common goal. We just want to see people saved. We want to see this church grow. We all have put our value where it actually matters. We do all this stuff. We have fun, or we got our hobbies, but in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't matter. It has no value when it comes to the Lord and all of that. But being one of the older guys in the youth group, I only got like 1 year of this left. Being a teenager before I move on to the next stage of my life, I realized that over those times when I was still a little bit older, I was a little bit older than the guy with Ian in there. I was still younger than him, but I wasn't the example to the guys who are much younger than me, the correct example to Gavin, to my little to Sam, and to the rest of these guys. I wasn't the example they deserved. And when I pulled them together, everything I told them, I had to preach to myself first. If I wasn't screwing up first, they wouldn't have, because I don't realize how closely they'll follow me until you see what they do, and it's like, they wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't for me. And when it's screwing around, saying the stuff they shouldn't say, and I know that's because of me, it hurts. Like, there's some stuff that some of those kids wouldn't say, but if I wouldn't have said it, they wouldn't even know it, and it would have been better that way. I would like to apologize to all y'all, the girls as well. I haven't been the leader I should have been. It's in the past now, but I know that me and Jeremy, we're going to step up. It's time for us to step up. We're both seniors. We shouldn't have waited this long, but I'm going to be the example so that when I leave, the next guy in line, Ethan, it's you. You're going to step up. You're going to fill that spot, and then Austin, and then it's going to go down the line. Julian, y'all have invested too much in us for us to fail. There's too much of an expectation put on us for us to screw this up. I've been in church my whole life. It's going to church on Sunday. It's habit, but I really was thinking about it, I don't want it to be a habit. I want it to be because I want to meet with God, and not just become just, oh, it's Sunday, let's go to church, check off the box, I did what I was supposed to. But it's seeing Julian, from the background he came from to watching the Lord call him to preach, is something amazing, because you expect all these preppy boys from these churchy backgrounds to get called to preach, but that boy has none of that. He came from nothing, but it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter who your parents are, it doesn't matter any of that, but God's still going to use you. I feel like for a while I felt like if I didn't get called to the ministry, I would be letting y'all down. But I realized that we have 4 guys in our youth group that are called to preach, and I want to be that. If the Lord doesn't call me to full-time ministry, okay. But I'm going to be there in that pew, backing everything they say up. I'm going to support my pastor. He might screw up every now and then, but he's a human. We're all humans. Yeah, but he might be wrong about 1% of the time, but about 99% of the time, he knows what he's doing. He's in his Bible. He's praying for you. He cares about you. So decisions he's making, you might not understand them, but God did that for a reason. And with this new building going up over here, realizing that we have older folks in this church. It's not going to be. Y'all might have several years before y'all go, but no, not that way. I'm sorry, not that way. Y'all are old, okay? Is that what y'all wanted to hear? But y'all who are older and y'all don't got as long as we have left now. Yeah, God could take us in any moment, but what y'all have fought for, we can't drop everything. For a while, as over the past year, I really had the mindset that I could kind of sit back, and then other people in my generation would pick it up, and I could just, halfway it. But over the past, I'd say about 3 or 4 months, it's really, I just get constantly just smacked in the back of the head. Like, it's not their job, it's your job. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to take charge. It's time for you to show the younger guys, this is what you do, and this is why we do it. Now, we might not know every reason behind what we do, but we know that it's what God wants us to do. We'll get the answer eventually, but it just keep going. And then something else I was saying when me and Jeremy took the guys, we started talking. I want to see every guy in this youth group still in church 10 years from now. I want us to be able to look at each other and say, hey, remember in 2023 where we all got on the same page, we all decided to fight for the same thing. And 10 years from now, when we have our own families, we're all married, we have kids, I want to be able to say, 10 years from now, it'll be 26, whatever. No, 27, I'm older. Whatever, who cares? What is with this? When we 10, 20, 30 years from now, we can all look back at that one decision that set us on the path we were going, that kept us going that way. And it really, a lot of decisions that were made here, if I didn't make this decision, I wouldn't be all in. I would just be chilling, just like y'all can do it. But through decisions that I made this year, I want to be all in. I'm going to be all in because I know that some people, they'll come to church and they'll just chill. They'll come, Sunday morning, okay, but like a lot in the church, it says, what people say is about only 20% of the church actually does stuff to keep this going, I'm going to be part of that 20%. I'm going to be the person who gets up every Saturday morning, goes out soul winning, telling people about there's a Savior that can save you, and you don't have to stay there. But I highlight a few decisions I've said. A lot of this started back at Winter Revival when Preacher Gomez said something. A lot of y'all teenagers, y'all go to youth conference and y'all make the same decisions over and over and over again. And I'm guilty of that. I did that for 2-3 years. And then what's ironic is that he said it again the Sunday night that we were there, and it was pretty much consistently being said. And it was convicting at the fact that I'd been doing that, but I knew that if I didn't set it down and make it mine, I wouldn't be what I'm supposed to be, the example I'm supposed to be, and just being all in. And I don't have a special, like a specific message that I can tell you was what really nailed it down. They all fed onto each other. They pointed out here, and then it all came together at the end. Like, this is what needs to be got right. Now, I'm not perfect. None of us are. But I'm going to do my best. All of us boys, we're going to keep each other accountable for the decisions we've made. It's just truly valuing this was honestly our problem. We dealt with it so flippantly. Maybe not all of us, but I know I did. It was just kind of, I'll read my Bible when I get to it, but it never was made priority. So honestly, I decided I'm going to make this priority. I don't spend a crazy amount of time on my phone. I'm not screen that. But the time I do, I'm going to listen to preaching, stuff that I know is going to help me throughout my life, and stuff like that. I just, again, I'd like to thank all of y'all for giving of your time, your money, and everything else. A few good memories. I'm sorry, Jeremy, I have to say it, but so Sunday we went to McDonald's to get breakfast, and our bus driver, Brother Ben's uncle, was driving, and he said, it was raining at the time. We had to park on the opposite side of the McDonald's because there was no area for him to park. And it was just me, Hector, Jeremy, and Gavin, and I think Sam were in the bus, and it was Brother Ben's uncle. And he asked one of us to go out and tell him that we're over here, so when y'all come out that door. And then Austin, he comes prancing up, I'll do it. And then he's like, all right, go outside and do this and that. Austin walking like he does and all that. He's walking, so we're at the drive-through. He's going. Then just out of the middle of nowhere, and he just lands on the side of his leg, just down like this. And then he gets up, just walks back inside, and when he comes back, his entire side is wet. He completely wiped out. It was hilarious. And then another good fun thing we did was American Eagle is where they would put it started off with balls, and then it went to people. You had to run in there, grab the ball, and then take it back to your side. That was fun. There was pretty much no rules, so you could really do anything you want. You got Jeremy, he elbowed a guy in the face. We didn't get in trouble. Granted, that was kind of mean, but whatever. I got to truck a guy who was like twice Ethan's size, and then throw little guys around. It was pretty fun. And then watching Jacob, Sam, Aaron, and then the other Aaron just get picked up and dragged up who knows where was also pretty funny because they were completely helpless. There was nothing stopping them. Them guys were literally twice their weight, and yeah, it was sad. But again, thank you for all y'all do, and thank you for giving us the ability to come, go to camp, and just everything that happens here is added to your account. Amen. Every person that is preached to by someday Julie and Gavin and Jeremy and Ethan is all added to your account because the money you gave, the time you spent to see us here and then watch us make those decisions and help us keep them. It's all stems from what y'all do. It all starts here. So thank you.
First of all, I'd just like to thank all the chaperones, Brother Luke for driving us, Brother Jesse. It was nice being in your hotel room. And then I just want to thank Brother Ben, especially for being there for us when we made our decisions. It was just good. You were there for us when we made those. It was good to have somebody to embrace and support us in those decisions. There's a lot of activities. My favorite thing to do was the boxing. Nobody's talked about it. I don't know why. I boxed Ethan, and we've been talking about boxing for a long time, and we finally did. I won't say who won, but I won. Nah. Another one of my favorite activities was American Eagle. I did not mean to elbow that kid in the face. But all the activities were fun, but most of all, what was more important about the week of camp was the preaching. One of the first decisions I made was being a better leader in the youth group. It was Wednesday night, and I had already talked to Brother Ben, and he told me one of the things I struggle with is showing my heart more. And then I talked to him, and then I went up and talked to Pastor, and he told me the same thing. And I told him I wanted to be a better leader, and he told me if I was serious, then I'd walk down the stage and I'd go get Riley, and we'd get the guys, and we'd tell them how it was, and we did. And I'm just glad that we did that. Another decision I made is just my attitude. My parents can attest to it. People here can attest to it. Sometimes I just have a bad attitude, and sometimes I just don't care, and I'll say whatever I want. I just want to say sorry to everybody for all of that. But I think the biggest decision I made, about a month ago, something happened personally, and I said I was done, and I was about to walk out, and it took my parents to keep me back and not leave the house and go. And Pastor preached on not selling the Christian life for anything. And he told us about like older people that he knew he would disappoint if he left when he was my age. But I thought about all of y'all who would be disappointed. I thought about Julian, who probably looks up to me the most out of everybody in here. And I just made the decision to not leave no matter what, because there may be problems in the Christian life, but I know people personally in my family that I just don't want to have the problems they have, and they don't have to have those problems. And something else that stuck out to me was whenever we took all those guys and we talked to them, Pastor told me when we were up there, he told me to look around at everybody who was making decisions. And he told me 95% of them won't keep them, and that 5 of them will. And I need all y'all to keep me accountable, because I don't want to be that 95%. I want to be that 5% that keep it. And I just want to say thank you again, Brother Ben, for being there. Just thank you.
So first of all, I would like to take ownership for the Dusty Knees name. She had another choice. It was Camp Mom, but she said it made her sound responsible, and she didn't appreciate that. So bear with me. I have a lot of chaotic thoughts up here. I just scribbled down. So some of my favorite memories was we had that giant pillow fight the first night at the hotel. We got in, it was like maybe 10 o'clock that night, probably around that. And I don't know where the chaperones were. I think they were in the other room. Either way, they were gone for like 0.5 seconds, and a full war broke out. So poor Miss Emily comes back in the room, and she's like, okay, guys, 1 more minute. She sets us a timer, and then everybody just went crazy, but it was epic. One of my favorite games was definitely paintball, because we won. One of the few games we won obviously had to be my favorite. But it was funny, so we hear like all the other, like we heard over some youth groups, and of course we're Texas, known for guns and everything. And so we were we were headed to paintball, and we heard this other group like chit-chatting amongst themselves. We're like, yeah, we have to watch out for that Texas group. They're the threat this year. And so we were walking. We're like, okay, it's not that serious, but whatever. So we were walking, and so whenever we got to the games where we actually like had to put on our vests, grab our gun, we're like, okay, so if we have this reputation, we need to actually live up to it. And I can safely say we did. We won both rounds. Praise the Lord. So that was really fun. Everything was just really great. I've been to a lot of camps and conferences with this group, with a group from another church, and I've been to a lot of meetings and revivals, and there was something special about this one. There's a lot of times that you hear older generations talk about back in the day and revival, and a lot of times it just becomes stories to my generation. It's something that was in the past. It's not things you see nowadays. You don't see hour-long invitations. You don't see 160 campers praying together and trying to make decisions to go forward for God. But I can honestly say it's something we saw this year. And revival doesn't have to be something that you only hear stories about. A lot of my favorite messages were, well, I'm trying to word it right. So a lot of them, some decisions I made were things that were added up through the week. But Pastor Monday night preached on making the word yours, and he preached on a ship thoroughly furnished. So you read your Bible, but your Bible needs to furnish you for the storms that you're going to face. And I read my Bible pretty regularly, but it's hard to put into practicality what you read. So as one of the decisions I made was to apply what I read, because there's going to be storms and you need to be sure you're equipped and ready for those in the next chapter. One of my other favorite ones was one Brother Marriott preached Wednesday morning, and it was talking about struggles and everybody has problems, but the way he presented it, he's like, oftentimes there's problems and it feels like you're being buried alive underneath those, and it's just very heavy and you don't know how to deal with it. But maybe think of it, sometimes it feels like you're being buried alive because God is trying to plant you where you are. And that was one of the things that really spoke to me. And it went with one of pastors, when he preached about going to Nineveh, he talked about how they had the problem of the famine, but Moab had its own set of problems. And you don't need to exchange your one problem for the problems of the world. Your problems are hard, but the problems of the world are much harder and have much worse effects on what's going to happen to you down the road. So one of the bigger decisions I made was to start looking at my problems differently and try to see them as something that can better you and not something to be bitter about. Because yes, they're hard, but their other problems of the world are much worse. So those were some of my decisions and the messages that I really enjoyed. And then I just want to thank everybody, Brother Luke for driving us. When I found out he was flying home and then flying back, I kind of thought he was crazy. I mean, very appreciative, but I thought he was crazy. I couldn't believe they could actually do that for us, so thank you. Thank you to Destiny I know you're tired of people thanking you, but thank you for being a great friend throughout the week and just a good example. And then Brother Ben and Miss Emily, and Brother Jesse, I just want to thank them all for their time and their devotion to us, and especially all of you. Every dollar, every prayer, every thought toward us throughout this week was worth it, and it's not going to come back void. One of the things that I think it's Brother Kavanaugh said Thursday night, he talked about, and I kind of went in with it. A lot of times at the end of conferences or at the end of camp, I can kind of predict the type of message that it's going to be. And it's a very keep your decision type message, which those are always good. And they're very much needed, so I'm not downplaying those. But he preached a message, and it was had this same goal of keeping your decisions, but with a different point of view on it. And he was talking about how Satan's going to try and steal these decisions and going to try and rob you of your fruit. And God met with us this last week, but that wasn't for nothing. He met with you. What are you going to do now? Much is given, much is required. So it was just a thought of what next. So I just want to thank you all, and that's all.
Hi everyone. Okay. I would just like to say thank you to all the chaperones, to Brother Ben and Miss Emily, to Destiny and Brother Jesse. I think Destiny knows how crazy we can be at times, but there were times on the bus I turned around and I looked at Brother Jesse, and he was either dying of laughter, or he was trying to sleep or something, or just shaking his head at something that we were doing. So it was really funny. One of my favorite memories, Katarina mentioned it. She said that she got to do the L sign to a crowd. So the reason why she did that was we had an offering, and our team always raised the most money. And so she was able to go up, and she was wearing a Buc-ee's shirt. And, well, let's just say that Texas and those Northern nerds, we got into a heated discussion about Buc-ee's. And those Northerners said that Buc-ee's was overrated and wasn't that great. And we put them in their place. We raised the most money that night, too. So the pillow fight has already been mentioned. I just walked into the room, and then I looked, and there was just one girl sprawled across the bed. And then we all just picked up pillows, and it was every man for himself. So, yeah. So this camp has been very bittersweet for me, because this is my last camp that I'm able to go to that, like, as a camper. This is the 8th year in a row that I've been able to go to conference and camp, and I honestly can say that this one was the best one, my last one. And some of the reasons was definitely because of the preaching. And two of the messages that really spoke to me was called "Stick with God, Kid, You'll Go Places" by Brother Austin Marriott, and "Before You Leave" by Pastor Che. And there's just been like a lot of things that have been going on. I've watched a lot of people leave church, and a lot of people who I trust, and it gets hard sometimes watching them, and sometimes you think, like, what if I leave? And you don't realize how much it hurts people. And I just decided that I don't want to hurt people the way that those people's decisions have hurt me and the people who I love. So I decided that I'm going to stay in church for the rest of my life, and I'm going to serve God. And Brother Kavanaugh, he preached that Thursday night, and people have already talked about it, about bearing fruit. And well, one thing that he really spoke about was respect. And God really spoke to me that whole week, but I knew that there was just something else in my life that God needed to speak to me about. And it was that Thursday night where Pastor Kavanaugh, he has a way of preaching. If you sit on the edges where Ethan and Brother Luke sit, he will go up to you. And I made the mistake of sitting on one of those edge seats, and he was hovering above me, looking me directly in the eye, talking about how we lost, you need to gain back respect for your authority and those who in our life. And I really lost that, and I had to get that right with my parents. So, yeah. Another big decision that I had to make was to trust God, because in just a little over a month, I'm going to be going to Providence Baptist College up there, and I got to meet a lot of great people who believe exactly the same thing we do, and they're serving God with their life just like we are down here. But it's still going to be hard for me, because Heritage Baptist Church is the only place that I've ever known. It's the only place I've gone to church, and I'm really sad that I'm going to have to leave this place, but I know that I'm doing God's will for my life. And I'm really sad that I have to leave before the building is completed, but I know that I'm doing what's right, and I know that He's going to bless me if I follow Him. So, thank you.
Church, I hope you weren't bored tonight. I hope you weren't looking at your watches waiting for it to end. That was a lot, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that was just the surface. Honestly, there's so many more decisions, so many more things that they dedicated and they got right, that they confessed, that they got help in this past week, and that was just the surface of it. I think I'd be remiss not to give an invitation tonight. I know the Lord spoke to my heart, but we'll do an invitation in 3 parts in this invitation, three calls for this invitation. Come down at the first, but first is for the teenagers. This may be your last time voicing these decisions that you made. This may be the last time that you specifically call out, and don't go back on those decisions. Keep them. And this may be your last chance that you've voiced it, but don't let it be the last chance that you live it out. And then parents and families. It was a blessing to see families get together, teens doing it themselves, getting each other and praying for each other. You guys are with each other every day. They're going to need your help with these decisions, and they're going to need your support in them, not your ridicule in it, but your support of it. And then church members as well. If the Lord spoke to you on something and the teens are getting victory in their lives on an issue, it'd be great to see you all. That's not just for them. The revival, the preaching was not just for them. It was for our church and our church family. So if the Lord spoke to you on something, make a decision. Make a decision tonight, and then pray for the teens. They're going to need it. This is a lot, and these decisions are a make or break. They made the decision. Whether they keep it or not may break them later. It may be the year that, man, I made this decision and God changed the direction of our lives. Or I made that decision, but I didn't keep it, and now I'm not in church today, and I'm not serving and not doing what God has for me. So church, they need your prayers and they need your help. So that's a call for the invitation for tonight. So why don't we all stand? Heads bowed, eyes closed. If the Lord spoke to you, just come and pray. Thank you, teenagers, for sharing your heart with us tonight and what God did in your hearts this past week. It's been a good day, church. And I forgot to mention we had one saved this morning as well, and it was Aaron Gonzalez. He came with us actually to camp this past week, and the Lord was working on his heart. He made a lot of good decisions, but now that he got his salvation settled, he's going to be able to keep those and keep growing, and I saw a lot of growth this past week in him. So keep praying for the teenagers, and thank you, church, for listening and being a part of the service tonight and being here. Be in your place Wednesday night. Looking forward to hearing Pastor again and having him back in town and having everybody, all the family, back together. It's different whenever there's people out and when you have a meal at your house with your family and there's somebody that's gone or a couple people are missing. But it's nice when the whole family is together again, and looking forward to that on Wednesday. So please be in your place and be in your spot. Let's sing There's Something About That Name, and then Brother Tillman, where did he go? Brother Tillman left. All right, Brother Luke, there you are. Why don't you go ahead and dismiss us in prayer once we're done with our final song. Jesus, 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 there's just something about that name. Master, Savior, Jesus, like the fragrance after the rain. Jesus, 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 let all heaven and earth proclaim. Kings and kingdoms will all pass away, but there's something about that name.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the testimonies that were given tonight regarding camp, Lord. I just pray that you be with the teen group, Lord. I pray that they keep their receptive and responsive hearts, Lord. I pray that each and every one of us in this church holds them accountable